Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and this is my review of Holy Hot Mess by Katherine Backstrom. Here we go. Holy Hot Mess is an autobiographical, self-help-ish book from Katherine Backstrom. I really appreciated the book. I enjoyed it a lot. And I want to say thank you to Worthy Publishing for giving me an advance copy of this book. In this review, I'll be listing some of my observations of the book, some of the things that I liked, some of the things I didn't like as much, and then we'll end off with a recommendation for the book, who should purchase it, who should consider buying this book. Let's get right into it. To start with, I want to say this book is so engaging. I actually got the book like 2 months ago, and I thought I would read like a couple pages of it and then wait until closer to publishing before I read the rest of it. And instead, I read a couple pages of it, and then I read literally the rest of the book that day. It was just such an entertaining and, like I said, engaging book. I just couldn't put it down. It's a kind of a quick read. I really enjoyed it, and I read the whole thing in one long setting. I didn't put it down except for very brief breaks. I read all in one day. Like I said, not really the expectation. I thought I was going to read a little bit and then move on, and that's not what happened. I really enjoyed the book. It was good. Part of what made it so good is the humor, and I just think that Katherine has just an amazing way of being funny and making situations that I don't know, could be sad, could be whatever. She makes them funny, and so that's part of what made the book so engaging. Is she knows how to twist things just the right way to make them super funny, make them humorous. I found myself chortling a lot in this book and kind of enjoying just the humor in it. Faith elements were also a huge part of the story. I appreciated the way that she tied back to the Bible. She tied some of her own stories back to, especially like Jesus and the disciples, and kind of the way that she talked about those things felt authentic, which is really good. It didn't feel like she was shoving faith into this story. It felt like they were kind of just a part of what she was thinking about, even at the time, you know, while these events are going on. So she's telling different, you know, parts of her story, parts of her life, things that have happened in her life, and then she's kind of saying, hey, this is how the Bible relates to these things, and here's some scripture references that, you know, I was kind of thinking about at the time, and I felt like that felt authentic, it felt real. And that authenticity, I think, is part of her brand. I don't know if that's like a weird thing to say or not, but I really feel like that's when you look at some of her stuff online, like her videos or Facebook or whatever, it feels like that authenticity is part of her brand. Now, I don't know if that's honest or not. Like, I don't know if she's really showing herself or if she's doing a good job portraying showing herself in this like messy person. I don't know where that line is, and but it felt real to me. It, like the book does, and some of her Facebook posts and things like that, they feel like they're real to me. I don't know if that's, you know, what's really real or not with social media and books and all the rest of it. You don't know, but it feels authentic to me, and it felt like it could be helpful for people to see this kind of messy person who's saying, hey, don't have it made. I know it can look on Facebook or on Instagram or on wherever, it can look like people are perfect, and that's not the reality. I feel like she did a pretty good job of showing something that looks real. Now, whether it is real or not, maybe, I don't know, but it feels real to me, and so I appreciated that. And just throughout, it felt like she's sharing really deep and personal bits about her life and about herself. And so I don't know, like I said, I appreciate that. It felt very real to me. The book itself is a pretty light read, but it has some depth to it if you want it to be. So I think that's one of the strengths of this book, is that you could read this book and it could be just a light, fun, very, like I said, funny, humorous, entertaining read. You can blow through it in a day and enjoy it, and that would be fine. Or if you wanted to, you could think through the depth of the book as well. It's deceptively light with some depth underneath it, but I think that depth takes a little bit of work on your part to get to, if that kind of makes sense. Just because of her style and how humorous it was and how entertaining and how you could just breeze through the whole thing without taking a second to pause and you know, actually get to the depth of the book. And so there's like faith elements. There are some things about how God views our mess and how God is working through our mess. That's kind of, you know, her kind of branding, I guess, is, you know, hey, there's this mess that's going on the surface and God is working underneath it. And I think that if you wanted to pause and figure out that working underneath it a bit more, you really could, but that would take more work on your part. A couple things I didn't like as much about the book. First of all, is that it did just feel a bit disjointed. It felt like each chapter was like a blog post or like a separate entity of itself. That could have been a lot of small essays or something instead. Essays isn't the right word because it doesn't feel like essays, but it just felt disjointed at times. It's a minor issue, but I was sometimes jarred when I was like, oh, we're doing something different now, very different. I thought we were still going to work on this more because there felt like there was more to each section than. Yeah, so it just felt jarring a little bit when you ended that section. You're expecting to go on with that, and you're just somewhere totally different. And a related issue is this idea that sometimes it felt like humor was a defense mechanism in the book. And so she shares these very deep and personal things. And I think that's such a strength of the book is the authenticity that's there. But it feels like she goes almost to the edge where it's like, hey, I'm going to tell you more about this. I'm going to dig into it more. I'm going to be deeper with this thing. And then before you got there, she was off on something else. And so I don't know this for sure, but it feels like sometimes humor was used as a defense mechanism instead of as a way to get us there. It was like we needed just a little bit more with a lot of the different sections where the humor was great, but the humor was almost overshadowing the idea that we could actually be a little deeper. We could get into this thing and really discuss why a little bit better. And so those two things, they're pretty minor in the grand scheme of this thing. I liked the book a lot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Definitely easy to recommend. We'll get to that recommendation in just a second. Before we do, though, I just want to point to the description box below. There's a link there for this book. If you're thinking about buying the book, we'd really appreciate it if you use that link because it helps us out a lot. It doesn't cost you any extra, but it does give a little kickback for our channel. Now, as far as the recommendation, I think this is an easy recommend. If you're a fan of Mary Katherine Backstrom, obviously go pick up this book. It feels just like a lot of her social media stuff, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you're looking for a quick read that can be deep, something you could spend some time doing or something you could just enjoy, that's perfect for that as well. It's definitely from a Christian perspective, so keep that in mind as you're considering buying this book. And I do think the people that will probably get the most out of it are people who feel like they can kind of stop, pause, and think through the book more. I think if you can obviously buy this thing and just breeze through it like I accidentally did, but you could also take the time to pause, think through what she's talking about, and do the work to kind of pull some deep stuff out of this book. I think that's who's going to get the most out of it. So this has been my review of Holy Hot Mess. If you've enjoyed this review, feel free to like and subscribe. We put out content like it all the time, including author interviews, book reviews, and random book content. Thanks again so much for watching, guys, and as always, stay safe out there.